Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Javier here with The Real Javier Novoa, a channel, a platform, and a modality where we apply the principles of philosophy, spirituality, mysticism, and business and good planning to rapid lifestyle transformation. It's all about getting you completely free from the prison grid, getting you free from a job and a boss so that you can pursue your dreams, so that you can be free, and so that you can impact the world in the way that you came to do, ladies and gentlemen. And I think that's the most important thing. I think it's an idea whose time has come. If you just look at the current events, if you look at the news, rapid lifestyle transformation is becoming less of a luxury, less of a hobby, and more of a necessity, ladies and gentlemen. We need to get independent. We need to get free. We need to get self-sufficient as a matter of urgency. Indeed, I think it's almost coming down to as a matter of survival as a civilization and as a species. We will make more videos about this. But ladies and gentlemen, if you want to help us get this word out, and it's up to you, of course, if you want to pull your energy in with a group of individuals who are honing our skills in manifestation, who are becoming master manifestors, I'd invite you to subscribe to the channel. Hit the subscribe button below, because it benefits you and behooves you to get in this train while we're relatively moving slowly, so that the faster it moves, you'll be up to speed with that, ladies and gentlemen. So I will give you a moment to subscribe. Thank you so much for subscribing. So ladies and gentlemen, a short video tonight. Congratulations, Monday is finished. We're going into Terrific Tuesday, and I've said on other videos, I want you to get a feel for each day of the week, because we're going to be using this skill of being able to fill yourself into a specific day metaphysically to hone our skills in focus, to hone our skills in imagination. That's coming up in videos coming very soon, but it will be Tuesday by the time that you see this. We're already having a great momentum for the week. And I just want to make a short video, ladies and gentlemen, sort of segue while we are still in the meta planning phases, ladies and gentlemen. That's right, because if you watch my previous, probably now 15 videos on strategic planning, we are in the beginning. We are planning the plan, and I hope you are carving out time, ladies and gentlemen, at least 15 minutes a day, a few days a week, just to sit down, just to approach this as a gentle spiritual practice, and just to get your gear in order so that you can start working on the next phase of this plan, the first official phase of the plan, which is going to be the iteration phases, so to speak, which is going to be getting some ideas of streams of income, actually putting those into demo mode, into testing mode, so that you can test them, and then so that you can go into the next 6-month period of actually training yourself in the main skills of that, and becoming an expert in that, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, you can become an expert in anything. Well, let me put it this way. You can get to the top 90 percentile of anything vis-a-vis the majority of the general population within about 3 to 6 months. And we will go deep into the works of accelerated learning, optimization, especially the works of Tim Ferriss and others who talk about this and who give us a great platform to move forward with this. We'll be illustrating it with actual case studies and examples on the ground, people who I'm coaching, as well as aspects of my own life that I will put out there and share. So stay tuned for that, ladies and gentlemen, coming up within this planning process. But I wanted to stop because there's a main aspect of this. And in fact, this is, I think, I don't want to be so bold as to say this is the essence of manifesting, because manifesting is such a multi-layered onion, and it sort of belies any attempts to left brain or analyze it or put it into analysis, because it is at root about unity. So we can't really analyze it intellectually and say this is the essence, because it depends on the point of view you're taking from it. Hope you understand me just a little bit. If you don't understand me, even better, because you can understand it with your left brain, ladies and gentlemen. But just for the sake of this game, and for the sake of the impact we're trying to make, especially in this planning process. I think this gets down to the nitty-gritty of manifesting. And we were watching this show on Netflix, as I want to do every now and then. I will watch a show on Netflix. They have some interesting stuff. Sort of upset that they took off a lot of good movies, but just to decompress some weekends, I will watch some series. And one series I was watching was Spy, which, by the way, is a very historically inaccurate, I think, and almost sort of laughable series on the life of Eli Cohen, who was an Israeli spy who basically went into Syria and actually attained a position in the highest levels of the Syrian government before he was caught. And there's another good movie about this. I think it was called The Impossible Spy. I think it was back in the 80s. And you can watch this. But there's some interesting themes. And even though I didn't really like the, shall we say, some of the aspects of the series, there was a very interesting part of it that I had not seen really highlighted in other series. And this is actually a mainstay of spycraft. If you've read any books about spying and spycraft, you see, ladies and gentlemen, because I like to seek principles of application manifesting in very driven individuals of business, in military strategy, in political strategy, and in spycraft and intelligence. Why is that, ladies and gentlemen? Because in these fields, these people don't have time to play around. There's a lot on the line. There's a lot of importance. And ironically, because we know that one of the steps in manifesting is to drastically reduce the importance, the item that you choose to manifest must be of paramount importance to you. Why? Because otherwise you're not going to focus. And of course it will come to you nicely and slowly, but in order to actually get a deliberate hands in the clay, shall we say, handle on this, you need to start with a topic that's very important and that's indeed essential. That's why I think rapid lifestyle transformation is the most important topic for all of us. It's something that can unite the majority of us. Why? Because it's going to allow us to be free to then actually get on with creating why we came, ladies and gentlemen. So it's of utmost importance that you get free from the prison grid. So where am I going with this? All of these disciplines like military, like spying and so on and so forth, these people aren't playing games. So the principles that you can distill and learn from reading about the history and the operations of these disciplines are principles that will be very useful to you in the ground for manifesting anything. Of course, we're not working with states or anything like this. We're working on improving our lives, and I think these principles will translate to that. So where am I going with this? In the series they highlighted this because when Eli Cohen went to he basically took months studying the legend of a new person, a new personality they was going to take on, and I forget the name actually of the person, Jamal or something like this, but and we're going to call it Jamal. I'm sure it was a different name, but Khalid Jamal or something like this. But when he went to the safe house in Switzerland, which was basically on the way to him going to his points where he was going to actually establish this new identity, he had a commode or a wardrobe, and in one side he was told to strip and take off his clothes and put it in one side of the wardrobe. And then they told him, when you take off these clothes, you are no longer Eli, you are now Jamal. And so when he opened the door to the other wardrobe, he now had the wardrobe of Jamal. He said, when you step out of this room, you are no longer Eli. You don't have the wife that Eli had. You don't have any of the aspects of his life. You are Jamal. And they basically drilled this into him. And in fact, one day when he was in Argentina, which was his primary base to basically mingle with the Syrian expatriate community so that he could build bridges and go back to Syria, he was working with a liaison from the Mossad, which was Israeli intelligence, in Buenos Aires, and she would come to his house every so often to debrief him and so on and so forth, pass on orders. And she saw that he was writing letters to his wife. He wasn't sending them, but he was just writing letters so that he could have them as a memento and so on and so forth. And she said, I have to report this. You don't have a wife. You are not Eli. You are Jamal. And they really emphasized drilling this into him. In fact, by the end of the series, before they caught him and when he actually went back to Israel, he was having dreams in which he was speaking in Arabic as Jamal, not as Eli. And he was started taking on fully the personality of Jamal. Where am I going with this? This is exactly what you have to do, ladies and gentlemen, to manifest your reality. And this goes into Neville Goddard, and it goes into reality transurfing a great deal. Because I remember the great Bashar, another great spiritual teacher that I'd recommend all of you listen to. He was talking about a lady who said, I want to quit smoking. To make a long story short, he said, you can't quit smoking. You're not going to quit smoking with willpower. And I know this from even people in my life. Thank God I never started smoking. But I know people who have, and they've quit, and they've actually gone back to it years later, ladies and gentlemen. They still have the craving for smoking. They went back to it. Why is that? Because they were still that person who smokes. But as Bashar told the lady, he said, remember, every single possibility in the universe exists. And anytime you're living in a possibility, you're living in your own universe. So he said, certainly a universe exists where you never started smoking. And this is the only thing that you can do to actually have that habit evaporate, because you never started it. You have to get into that film role where you never started it. You have to take on a new personality. You have to take on what in spycraft they call a new legend. This is what you have to do to shift, ladies and gentlemen. This is what you have to do to get on another film role. And it happens all the time. It happens with hypnosis. You see subjects of hypnosis giving up habits. And we're not telling you on this channel that you have to give up any habits. We're not telling you that you have to hypnotize yourself. But you do have to focus yourself some way or another onto the film role of your desired outcome in order to get that outcome. And oftentimes that's a film role of a totally different personality. You may use your name, but here's some techniques of this, some techniques of self-taught that we're going to give you here. You can basically go into an alpha state, right? Let's say you want to be free from the prison grid. You want a stream of income like we're doing in this planning phase, where you only have to work 3 to 4 hours a day, 4 days a week. Let's just make it simple and do that. You want to get into the state of F. So you can basically go into alpha. You'll want to do this as many times as you can. You can look up at the horizon. You can get into that alpha state. You can do this in less than 2 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. It's not hard. Especially if you're relatively calm. If you're upset about something and your heart is pounding, don't try to do this until you calm down. But when you're perfectly calm, you can look up to the horizon like this. You can take a few deep breaths. And you can say, look, I am now in alpha waves. And I am now going to debrief myself. Then you can say, what is it that I want? I want to be the person who is living the life of a lord or a lady, basically. I don't have to work. My income just comes to me easily. And then, ladies and gentlemen, you can just make something up. You can say, you know what? On the film role that I was currently focused on, I'm going to have to come up with ideas how to do this. I'm going to have to plan and so on and so forth. But there exists a film role out there in the universe where I have been living like this, say, for the past 5 years with ease. Let's just say that 5 years ago I was willed a lot of money by a very wealthy person. They just gave me $2 million, and I've been investing that, and I've just been living off the interest, so I'm already in this. So I am now, let's just say, I am now the Javier that's on this film role. I already have the means and the financial stability to live as a lord and a lady, and I can work as much as I want or as little as I want every single day. I am that. And then tell yourself, this is sort of like a self-hypnosis. Anytime I find myself going back into that other film role where I don't have that, I can just snap and say, no, you're no longer that person. Rather, you're the Javier that's living as a lord on this other film role and who doesn't have to work. And then do your best to just fill in the context of that. And then on the count of 3, I'm going to be back into a normal state of consciousness. 3, 2, 1. And then just open your eyes. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a very fast way to do it. You can do it slower, and if you take 10 or 15 minutes to do this, it will take greater root into your subconscious. And you might have to do this even a few times before it feels natural. But do this, ladies and gentlemen. Take on the legend of the person you want to be. Another good way to do this is journaling. Now you can ask yourself, the person who already for 5 years has had those means, they've just been given to him, and he's now living as a lord. By lord, I mean in the ancient or in the European or British terms, which is a landed gentry, which is someone who did not have to work or toil. So in fact, the way we're meant to be, and especially if you look in the biblical literature, we're not servants, we're sons, and we're meant to live completely free of means. Even I believe one biblical verse says we're meant to live in houses that we never built, live by wells that we've never dug, ladies and gentlemen. That's the way it's meant to be, and that's what you can do if you know who you really are. So you journal. What would the person be doing right now? And especially, what would be his reactions and his feelings? And this goes into Joe Dispenza. And then you have to observe yourself. You take on the position of the observer, at least for a few days, and just observe yourself from a neutral standpoint as the one. And when you see yourself doing something that is not in accordance with that lordship that you've just appropriated, that you've just gotten on the film roll of, just give yourself a quick reminder and say, no, that's not who I am anymore. Just like in the movie of The Spy, that's not who you are anymore. You are now Jamal. You are now the person who's free from the prison grid. So I hope that little piece of insight helped, ladies and gentlemen. Do it. You can hypnotize yourself. You can self-talk. You can do anything to get yourself into that state. We're not saying that you have to do this. This is a method and a way that will work for a lot of people. And you can give me your comments in the comments section of how it worked out for you. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, I'm doing coaching calls. They're taking off. I will help you get across the finish line. I'll bring my years of experience in business and consulting to bear to get you free from a job and a boss, or take care of anything that you'd like to see different in your life. I'll put my email in the description. Thank y'all so much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. I will see you tomorrow with a new video going down this path of strategic planning. Until very soon, with great love and appreciation, this is Javier. Ciao.